Premier League team of the season so far, according to us here at the Football Ramble. This is going to divide opinion, Luke Moore, but let's go for it.
Yeah, that's just between us.
That's just between us.
Yeah.
It's taken us a while to do this. It's very difficult. It is just thus far in the season. We can't fit everybody in, but we've gone for a 4-3-3, as is the way these days. And we've tried to kind of have a balance in there.
And if none of these players win anything, we'll just change it at the end of the season.
I think some of them will, because we've got some Liverpool players in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But not in goal. Despite Alisson's heroics of late, I think because Kelleher played a large part, and he was very, very good as well, we decided not to go for Alisson. We've gone for Matt Sells in goal for Nottingham Forest.
I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory. I think he's been the standout goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. I think Flecken's been good at Brentford as well. He's stood out. A lot of people have chosen him in various other ones I've seen. But I think Sells has been... I mean, he's just been not the fulcrum, the kind of the platform that Forest have needed to play the way they play. And he just makes save after save after save as well. So to me, it's quite an interesting opening story with the goalkeeper, because he's not someone anyone would have picked at the start of the season. He's probably, if I may be so bold, not even a player that a lot of people could even identify at the start of the season, yet he's in there so far.
It's going to come from the neutral's point of view, isn't it? The career and defensive record, pretty good.
Yeah.
They obviously got hammered by Bournemouth. It was a bit of a blip.
Yeah.
But otherwise, for most of the season...
I just think also, if you're losing 5-0, it's not the goalkeeper's fault, is it really?
You'd hope not.
It's rarely the goalkeeper's fault.
It's rarely the goalkeeper's fault. Okay, so that's the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Now we move on to the defence. I want to start with the right back.
Yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold is who we've gone for.
Yeah.
He's had a good season. Liverpool have been brilliant this season, of course.
Yeah.
And this is no slight on Trent, of course. Not that many other right backs that kind of leap to mind, if I'm honest. But I think Alexander-Arnold has been quietly very good.
He's obviously brilliant going forward. He's obviously got great technique. He can pass the ball really well. He has got an underrated quality of a player in his position, which is he can genuinely affect a game, can be a real difference maker.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's quite interesting. I was looking at his defensive stats when I knew we were going to select him. And the one that really leapt out to me is no defender has been dribbled past more than him, but no defender's made more tackles than him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's all action.
I know
it's
what you mean. Yeah.
You know?
I think he's.
But he is worthy of his spot here.
Definitely,
in this team.
And I think as well though that he can defend. I mean, I think one of the problems for Trent was, or which contributed to this kind of chat, was at the time when England had tons of right backs, and you could still say they do, but when it was, Reece James was fully fit and all firing, and Walker was there, and Trippier and so on, it was really hard to determine who should be playing, who should not. So you scrutinise everything, and there became this narrative that Alexander-Arnold couldn't defend. I understand that some of those right backs are better defenders.
You see him against Man United, you think he can't defend.
Yeah,
it does happen.
Yeah, so there is something there, but I think this season he's been very, very good in a team that have just been magnificent, really.
Totally.
Conor Bradley will
another good player.
Will go on to be a starting right back for Liverpool soon, but right now Trent's the man, and he's our right back. So Trent Alexander-Arnold is our pick at right back. Left back, we've gone for Anthony Robinson of Fulham.
Yeah, well. It was Milos Kerkez until about 5 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah, and then a discussion broke out.
I pushed it through. It should be Robinson. I think it was important that it came from me because you're a Fulham fan.
Yes, I'm glad you've said that.
But look, I think it's funny, isn't it, with these types of things? Us picking Anthony Robinson doesn't mean Milos Kerkez hasn't been brilliant.
No.
He has been brilliant.
It's very difficult.
It's fair to say he's been brilliant.
Yeah.
But I just think the reason that we should go for Robinson over Kerkez is that obviously Bournemouth are higher in the league and are having a better season so far, but Robinson's played more minutes, more assists. I think he's faster. I think he's more experienced. And I think he has been the standout player in that position this season. I've seen Kerkez play a number of times. I've seen him play in the flesh at Fulham, weirdly enough, and I think he's always been very, very good when I've seen him. It's not a slight on him at all, but I think Robinson just shades it.
Yeah, it's difficult to choose. As I say, as you said...
10 assists in the Premier League this season from Robinson.
We had a discussion before. I'm sure, to scrutinise the position is very, very difficult. I've no doubt that people will be saying, but what about this player, that player? It's difficult. We can't put everybody in. You've got to decide somewhere.
Even these days, when fullbacks are expected to attack a lot... 10 assists for what is, at the time of recording, a mid-table team for a left-back is good.
Yeah.
Well, they are mid-table. They're ninth, aren't they?
Stop saying that.
You bit my hand off for that a few years ago.
I think they're eighth, though.
Oh, eighth, fair enough.
But there we are.
I can only apologise to everyone at Fulham who won't be offended because they're all wet blankets.
Unbelievable. So, anyway, centre-halves. We haven't even got to the midfield of forwards yet. Centre-halves.
Yeah.
Virgil van Dijk's in there.
Yeah.
Speaks for itself, really.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how I get the feeling there might be 3 examples of this in total, but you have to keep watching to find out. But 2 Liverpool players so far are both leaving. Yeah. They're both out of contract, right?
Well, the Van Dijk may not leave.
But Van Dijk has been imperious, and I think...
Yeah.
Do you want to say who the other centre-back is as well?
So we've gone for Murillo, the Forest. Centre-half. And again, it could have been Milinkovic as well. I think we have to have a representative of Murillo and Milinkovic.
That's exactly it.
And we've gone for Murillo. You could have gone for Milinkovic, but you've got to pick someone. The reason why I wanted Van Dijk in there is because Liverpool... currently, at the time of recording, best defensive record second best defensive record in the Premier League. Could have had Gabriel as well. I mean, for his goals as well.
He's been fantastic.
Again, you can only pick 2 centre halves.
Yeah.
And I think Van Dijk and what Liverpool have done this season has to be in there. And I think one of the Forest boys as well.
Yeah, so I would say Milinkovic is a better player than Murillo. Mm-hmm. But I think Murillo represents perhaps something more for Forest fans. Right. And reality is that they've both been so important to that defensive unit anyway that you could pick either of them. Yeah. And a testament to how good Van Dijk is I was thinking, because we picked Van Dijk first, and I was thinking, which of those 2, out of Murillo and Milinkovic, are better suited to play with Van Dijk? Well, the answer is it doesn't matter, because Van Dijk is so good at all of it.
Yeah.
He's so good at pretty much everything involved in that position. Yeah. And then he's got a load of other slightly less tangible things over the top, like leadership and mental strength, all that kind of thing. So Van Dijk has to be in there. He is one of the greatest Premier League centre-backs of all time.
Indeed, yeah.
And we're very, very fortunate to be able to watch him play. And I think he probably deserves more than the 1 Premier League title he's got. He may have 2 by the end of this season, but he probably deserves more than that. That's how good he's been. But he deserves to be talked about among the greats. And really, Murillo and Milinkovic have both had fantastic seasons for slightly different reasons. We went with Murillo, but it was a flip of a coin.
Yeah, indeed. On to the midfield. Midfield 3, of course. This was tricky. So we've gone for a little bit of balance. We're asking him to play a slightly different role, more his England role than his Arsenal role. Declan Rice is in there. Because I think it's kind of it's been underplayed how brilliant he's been for Arsenal this season. In that position, I thought about Sandro Tonali.
Yeah.
Because Newcastle, that midfield 3 they have, is very, very effective.
It is.
Even though in more recent weeks it's been a little bit hit and miss.
It's quite hard to pick midfield players for that reason, because they work as a unit, as a team. They bring different things.
Totally. And with Arsenal, their problem has been more goal scoring, really. They've been pretty solid. They are second, okay? They're in the advanced stages of the Champions League. People, I think, wanted them to kick on a bit more this season, and who knows? Maybe something will happen, and they will, though it seems unlikely in terms of Premier League titles. Yeah. But I think Rice has been so solid and consistent in there that I think he deserves to be in this Ramble 11.
Totally agree. Sandro Tonali's been amazing as well, but I think Declan Rice is... look, my view is he's better. Yeah. He's a better player. I think he covers more ground. I think he's playing at a team that perform consistently higher than Newcastle, which matters. He's always available as well, which Tonali, unless he's kicking the ball away and getting a ban, but generally he is. He's not getting the length of bans that Tonali's getting. Let me tell you that.
Well, less said about that, the better.
That factors in.
Okay.
I mean, Tonali's kind of first season back really, and he's been fantastic.
And he's made the difference in that midfield, of course, when he got put back into that.
It's a nicely balanced midfield now.
It is.
Newcastle,
and he's been a big part of that.
I think Rice's performed more consistently to a higher level.
Yeah,
there were people watching this video who won't agree, and I'm sure they'll tell me about it.
Yeah, indeed.
Would you agree with that, though?
I do, and do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel and get your comments in, because I have zero doubt that people have strong opinions on what's being said right now. But do understand that it's a difficult choice, and you've got to, we've gone for 11 of the season.
This is
so
YouTube; they will not understand.
Okay, fine. Give us your worst. But your best 11, though.
Yeah.
We have to have a representative of Liverpool's midfield in there. And we've gone for Ryan Gravenberch, who's been brilliant. Alexis McAllister could have been in there as well. But I think Gravenberch has really caught the eye in that.
Absolute revelation. Team. So good. Covers a lot of ground again. Interceptions are fantastic. Reads the game brilliantly. Gets stuck in. Links up play really well. Everything you want from like a modern midfield player in that system is what he brings. He seems to always play, and Liverpool are top of the Premier League by a decent amount. They've finished top of the Champions League group stage by a fairly decent amount. They lost their last game, but broadly speaking, they've been the standout team. He's been a massive part of that. He's one of those selections for this 11 where you think it just almost seems impossible not to have him in there.
Yeah.
And so kind of goes without saying, although it doesn't because we have to make a video. But I don't. If you are going to question that, I'd love to hear your reasons. Put it that way.
Indeed, yeah. To me, he was the second obvious choice of Liverpool players to pick for this team.
The first one's coming up in a minute.
We'll reveal the first one in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gravenberch Bertrand Rice in that midfield. And the other person we've gone for in there is Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
Now, I understand Chelsea have not been at the races of late, but I'd say that's probably not to do with Cole Palmer. I mean, he unbelievably good in that early part of the season when he was just scoring goals for fun. You can see him sometimes getting a bit frustrated on the pitch when maybe those in advanced positions are not getting on the end of some passes and so on. And other players in that role, I mean, you could rebalance a midfield and have McAllister in there, for example. You could have one or two others.
Morgan Gibbs-White, maybe.
Morgan Gibbs-White and Morgan Rogers is another one who we toyed with.
At his best, for sure, but can be inconsistent. Look, I think
but Cole Palmer's stealing the position from Morgan Rogers as he stole that celebration that we're led to believe from Morgan Rogers as well.
I think Cole Palmer, there's a chance that if we got to the end of the season and did this, he may not be in there. Depending what happens.
Depends how the season finishes, because if Morgan Rogers, you're right, suddenly just really kind of ups the ante as well, where Villa need someone big to step up in those Champions League knockout games, even though it's a Premier League 11. But even if they are, they need to up it if they want to finish in the top four.
In many ways, Morgan Rogers' problem is Aston Villa's problem, is that far too often after Champions League games, particularly Villa haven't been at the races. The Palmer situation is that I think he's probably now starting to suffer from being too relied upon. And it kind of manifests itself in the way that you've talked about, which is through frustration, but it also puts a lot of pressure on him.
It does.
And I think that for a team that spent so much money and for so many incomings in terms of players, they still look a little bit imbalanced. They still look short of a couple of players here or there, particularly up front, probably in goal as well. And really, Palmer's the lightning rod for that whole team, and he's found it tough in recent weeks. But I think he's still got a brilliant claim to being in that position in the team of the season so far.
And remember, it's team of the season so far, so what he did at the early part of the season,
massive part of it.
Counts.
Massive
that
part
does
of it,
count.
yeah.
Justin Kluivert was the only other one that I was going to mention.
And I think, again, on his day, fantastic, and Bournemouth having a brilliant season. So there's no right or wrong answer here.
Palmer's on penalties.
Oh, yeah.
And Kluivert will be thinking, I should be in that team and I should be on the penalties as well.
Of course he will.
But that's who we've got for Cole Palmer, despite the efforts of Rogers, Gibbs-White and Kluivert and others. The front three.
Yeah.
Right wing.
Yeah.
We've gone for Mo Salah.
Yeah.
Should be safe on that one.
Given that we're running quite short on time, should we just say Salah's in?
If anyone complains about that, up yours. With a rusty one. Magnificent player. Blah, 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 blah.
Next.
The other side of the starting striker, we've gone for Antoine Semenyo.
Yeah.
Who's been brilliant for Bournemouth.
Breakthrough season for him. On his best day, looks totally unplayable. Quite unpredictable as a forward player. Always positive, which is what you want to look for. You always want a player in that wide forward position in the modern game to be looking to do the hard things, which is taking the ball and driving forward and being positive and not cutting inside and playing easy. It's very. I understand teams want to recycle possession a lot now, but it's quite an easy thing to do for a wide forward to do that. At their worst, those types of players look completely ineffective, just endlessly doing that. He seems to always want to make things happen. His numbers are good as well. Like I say, breakthrough season for him. Depending on when Bournemouth finish this season, will be depending on whether he's at Bournemouth again next season himself.
I mean, his price tag is huge.
But he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely fantastic. And I'm trying to avoid just saying he's been brilliant.
Yeah.
But I hope I've given some reasons as to why I think he should be in there.
And you and him both have given reasons for
he deserves all the credit, to be absolutely clear.
Most of it I would.
But would you agree with all that?
Completely. I think it would be ridiculous to think that he wouldn't be in a team of the season.
Yeah.
Certainly so far in the Premier League. I know there's been others in that position as well. Anthony Gordon's had a good season. Again, you start mentioning people, but for me, he was again one of the first names on this team sheet we come up with. And the leading man up front, the number 9, and he is a number 9, Chrissy Wood.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest Chris Wood. He's just been what a season. So, again, you're not disrespecting him because he scored goals. He's a Premier League striker. But we didn't think that Wood was maybe capable of this. And again, that sounds disrespectful. I don't really mean it to be, because he's been so good and so lethal.
What would you say to people who say
Yeah.
Haaland scored more goals than him? Why isn't Haaland in there?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fair example. I think when you think about a team of the season, it's not necessarily just on numbers. The numbers are a big factor.
Totally agree.
But I think, what do they mean for the team, and what have they done? And Forest, at the time of recording, are currently just above Man City in the league. We know that Erling Haaland is, on his day, the best striker in the world. I think we could agree, or certainly one of them.
I think
And he
that's right.
will be for the next 10, 12 years, whatever. Chris Wood, in the twilight of his career, has just pulled this out of the bag. And Chris Wood does not get as many chances as Haaland. Haaland
Definitely
plays
not.
in a better team where they're going to be put on a plate
If
for
you
him.
look at Wood's
Yeah.
effectiveness
Yeah.
based along chances to goals, it's extraordinary.
Yes, it is. And I mean, I saw them play Fulham on the weekend. Forest didn't have a sniff. But the little snifter he got, bang, he scores.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, he's lethal, absolutely lethal. Again, against Liverpool at home at the City Ground, again, he has that one chance, which was a difficult one to take, slots it.
Yeah,
it
quite early
that
on, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah.
quite early on. It means they get a draw and they don't lose the game. Wood has been relied upon to do a job in a way that he's never really had to before. It's a different striker we're seeing, a guy who is, hopefully, for their sake, going to play playing Champions League next season, which would be remarkable.
That'd be amazing.
An unbelievably good season.
What I think is also really interesting about Wood, just to finish off on that, is that people think of him instinctively, because they've seen him play for a long old time and he's been in some unfashionable teams, as almost a throwback striker.
Yeah.
Whereas I wonder what he might actually be now is ahead of his time. Maybe the game is going that way, a bit more direct, a bit more...
Or returning to that.
Yeah, return to that.
Yeah.
And he's in the vanguard of it just through circumstance. Whatever it is, I mean, it's working.
It really is.
He's been brilliant.
So we've gone for Chris Wood up there.
So summarise it, do the whole 11 for
Here we
us.
go. So we got Matt Sells in goal.
I'm just checking if you can remember him.
Yeah, I can do. Don't worry. We've got Milos. No, we got Anthony Robinson at left back.
Yeah.
Virgil van Dijk centre half, along with Murillo. Right back Trent Alexander-Arnold. In that midfield three, Declan Rice, Ryan Gravenberch, and Cole Palmer. And then up top, obviously, Mo Salah on the right, Antoine Semenyo on the left, and then big Chris Wood up top. Can I be cheeky and say, who would your manager of the season be?
I wonder.
Yeah? You're going to give it Slot, or are you going to give it Iraola?
Russell Martin.
There you go.